All right. Well, welcome everybody. Like I said, I'm actually out in Las Vegas at the Fontainebleau. This place is amazing. It's incredible. Actually working on putting together an event for us out here. We're definitely going to be doing something at this hotel in Vegas in the near future. It's an incredible facility. It's the newest, hottest, greatest hotel in Las Vegas. And so I can't wait for those of you that haven't gotten a chance to see it yet to see it. The pool's amazing. The facilities are amazing. The room's incredible. I posted a video of the room on my Instagram page. If you didn't get a chance to see that, go check it out. The room's amazing. The view's incredible. The property is amazing. So we've got a busy day today. We've got a busy weekend this weekend. I want to make sure that everybody knows. I know we did this at a later time today, and so this was a one-time time change. But I also wanted to make sure that everybody saw the messages about tomorrow night's call. Tomorrow night's call is going to be the most important corporate update call we've ever done. We're going to be covering all the details of our very first BrightLife breakthrough event happening in Miami, November 8th, 9th, and 10th. And I have something that is going to literally blow you away. So I hope that you like country music. I hope that you like the song that I've been playing for the last 90 days. I'm not going to say anything more than that right now, but this song that I've been playing is by Nico Moon, and it's called Better Days, and he sings about bucket list. And so I love the song. I've been playing it since the pre-launch when everybody's getting onto all the Zooms, and so I love it. And so you're going to be blown away when you hear the announcements tomorrow night. These will be the biggest announcements we've ever made as a company, even bigger than the golf thing we just announced. Obviously, that's coming. We've got a lot of big things coming. We also have a ton of recognition. We've had a couple people hit Lifer 1600 in the last week. We've got lots of ranks happening literally every single day. So we've got people hitting all of the ranks. I mean, literally my phone, the notifications are just going off constantly. And we've got a ton of announcements to make, lots of things coming with tech. The tech team has been working fast and feverishly on a lot of updates for us. And so I'm looking forward to talking about that tomorrow. So make sure you get everybody on that call tomorrow night, 7:00 p.m. Central Time, 8:00 p.m. Eastern. And that will be at brightlifenews.com. And then, of course, it will be followed up with our regular Sunday Zoom, which will be at 8:00 p.m. Central, 9:00 p.m. Eastern. And those Sunday Zooms have been amazing. The sales on Sundays have been great. We've had literally our biggest Zooms, like 3 Sundays in a row. It's been bigger, bigger, bigger. And so everybody's using those Sunday night Zooms after the corporate update call. So I appreciate all of you plugging in and starting the week off strong. Literally, this last week was our biggest sales week ever. Our continued every week, the commission run gets bigger and bigger. We've got more people qualifying for residual income. So literally every single week, sales have been up. The commission runs, the amount of checks we're issuing each week is higher than it's ever been. It's gone up every week. The amount that we're issuing has gone up every week. So it's just, I mean, it's exciting times right now for us. And so today I'm going to talk about something that's actually a little bit controversial in my opinion. I've been in this industry now for in the network marketing industry since 2004. So 20 years in network marketing, but in direct sales since 1997. So 27 years I've been in this industry. And so I want to talk about something today that a lot of people talk about in the industry, but then don't like to get specific on, or don't like to talk about the real facts, the real figures. And today I'm going to actually show you the real numbers. I'm going to show you our retention the first couple of months. I'm going to show you what I think we can do, what I think our potential is. I'm going to walk you through and tell you real live stories. I have some information that unfortunately I cannot share exactly, who the information is about. And I'm going to talk about some industry facts too. What's interesting is that the DSA and a lot of the direct selling websites and organizations used to publish retention numbers. It used to be a hot topic. I actually went to a founders and CEOs summit probably about 10 years ago when I was one of the owners of World Ventures. And so there were several of us that were founders, owners that were at that event. And the topic of the event was the problem with retention. And so that for me was eye-opening, because they talked about a lot of things from other industries and other companies that I had not really witnessed firsthand. I had perceptions, but they talked about facts and figures of companies and their attrition. And the reason why is because at that time, this was literally when this summit took place. And so it was about 10, 12 years ago, okay? And there was a company that was doing very well, that had exploded. And they started about the same time we did in World Ventures. We launched in 2005. This company, Visalis, launched around that same time. And they came up with this 90-day challenge. And it was around the same time as another workout program that was called P90X. And so some of you will remember this, but they were really the first direct sales company, network marketing company, that used a 90-day challenge. And it was very effective. The pitch was very sexy. It was easy because social media was really just getting started. And so the deal was that you were going to take this 90-day fitness challenge, and then you were going to get your friends to do it with you. So you would post it on social media that you were going to do this 90-day challenge. And the idea was, hey, well, who wants to join me on this getting fit 90-day challenge? And so P90X was big. Visalis did this 90-day challenge, and they exploded in sales. They went from hovering around probably $20-30 million a year in revenue to, over like a 18-month period, they went to like 400-500 million. They got acquired by a publicly traded company in kind of a reverse merger. So all the founders made a ton of money off of the stock play. But then they went from like less than 100 million to like 400 million, and then it was like 600 or 700 million. I mean, it was like literally within 2 years because of this 90-day challenge. But the reason why this summit and this conference of all these CEOs and owners, it was the owners and CEOs of all the biggest direct sales companies in the world, were concerned, was because their average retention, okay, of a customer in Visalis at that point was about 40 to 45 days. That was it. So you literally would get people in, and then in 45 days, they would be gone. So what that is called churn. Okay, so churn is what percentage you lose. Okay, what the turnover is. Retention is based on that percentage, but retention is what's left. So you take usually it's looked at as an annual basis. So you look at an annual retention number, and then you look at a monthly churn. Monthly churn is the percentage you lose from the month 1 customers, and then how many of the month 1 to month 2 you lose in month 3. So it's a percentage of what you're losing from that initial 1 month group of customers. So you track them through their life. So month 1, if you go from 100 to 90 left that pay their monthly subscription in month 2, your churn is 10%, okay? And so I come into this meeting, I'm in this conference, and they're talking about the problems with Visalis, because they went to like 600-700 million or whatever the numbers were, and then literally all the way back down to like 200. And so it was this major red flag alert, because a lot of people started in the health and wellness space, started copying this 90-day challenge. And then some people did 60 and some people did 30. And then P90X, there was like there's been all these different things that are based on how long you can do something. And what it should tell you is that people inherently are quitters, all right? This is something that you have to understand, and you cannot take this personal. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have this talk today and go through these numbers and talk about what our potential is and what we can do to have raving fans and have great retention and huge residual checks. Because if the average life expectancy of a ViSalus customer back then, when they had this massive explosion and then this huge drop in sales, was only 45 days, that is a massive problem, because that means that you're only going to collect money from them if you're on a monthly auto ship, which ViSalus was. Most nutrition companies have some type of requirement, where you have to have at least a certain amount of retail volume, or some of them make it a wholesale volume, stuff that you have to buy from yourself. And Herbalife got in huge trouble for a lot of this, like 10 years ago, for what was called bonus buying. A lot of the direct sales companies and MLMs used to put these requirements into the comp plan of retail volume or personal volume, personal sales purchases, PSP. They've used all these different things, but basically the idea was that you had to keep buying a certain amount of product or retail a certain amount of product in order to stay qualified for your commissions. So if ViSalus is on a monthly auto ship, and back then at this conference, they said that the average product-based MLM, their auto ship was about $250. These numbers aren't out anymore. I looked all week trying to find some of these facts and figures that used to be very readily available, but they're not now, which is interesting to me. I would assume now, especially with inflation, and based on what I see when my daughter goes to Sephora, because I pay for that, I would assume now that product-based direct sales or MLM companies, most of them are in, wellness or cosmetics, skincare. I would assume that number is higher now because of inflation and the costs. And if you look at what's happened recently with these product-based companies, the margins are shrinking, right? Because of the competition and increased goods cost. So raw materials, the costs have never been higher, right? We're in this situation with inflation. So the direct sales and product-based companies are in this conundrum where it's like our goods are costing more, the ingredients are costing more, labor is higher than it's ever been. So all of these costs to produce our products, manufacture our products are higher, margins are slimmer, right? Because they're making less. So this is one of the reasons why you've heard some of these companies in the last 60 days that are terminating distributors, ending their comp plans, because they can't afford it. They can't afford to pay out and then compete with TikTok and Sephora and all these other companies, GNC and Walmart and Target, for marketplace and and for consumer dollars, because it's a competition, right? And so in this meeting, we're talking about this 45-day problem. Think about it. That means that the average person that came into ViSalus literally may not have even paid for 2 months. They got 1 month out of them. So that meant that their churn in 2 months was like 80 to 90%, their churn. So that, I'm going to show you in a second what that means. In fact, here, let me show you this really quick. I'll pause here and show you this chart. All right. Just want to make sure you guys can see this. It's an Excel spreadsheet. And so if somebody could just give me a thumbs up, I just want to make sure that this is on your screen. Okay, cool. Perfect. Thank you, Sharon. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at column G. Okay, column G. Column G is an 80% churn rate. Okay, 80%. That means when you put in 100 customers in month 1, you churn 80% of them from month 1 to month 2. So that means that at the end of the second month, you have 20 left. Okay, and this is exactly where ViSalus was because of their 90-day challenge. Because here's what happened. People would start the 90-day challenge, and then if they didn't finish it, guess what they did? They canceled. And when the people finished the 90-day challenge, guess what they did? They canceled. So the problem is because most people fall off the wagon. Most people can't even do 30 days, right? We're unfortunately, like I said, we're in this society of quitters. And this is why today over half of marriages end in divorce, even though everybody said in their vows, till death do us part, but they're parted and they're not dead. And that's over half of all marriages, right? And so we're unfortunately, it's just human nature, right? For people to quit at things. And I'm going to talk about why this happens in the industry in just a minute. But I want you to show how alarming and dramatic and why ViSalus eventually went out of business. So they went from 20, 30, 40 million to like 600 or 700 million and then out of business within 2 years later. Why? Because of the churn. So their 90-day challenge was a huge marketing success, huge, massive. They did hundreds of millions in revenue. But the problem is that when your churn becomes greater than the number of new people you're putting in, you can't sustain it. Okay, you cannot sustain the business model because you're losing people faster than you're putting them in. So when ViSalus first came out with the 90-day challenge, nobody had heard about it. Nobody had ever seen it. Their friends were posting on Facebook because back then, this was before Instagram even existed. They were posting on Facebook, hey, who wants to do this 90-day challenge with me? And everybody was doing it. It was very successful. So literally, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. But then as soon as everybody had heard about it and the marketing pitch was kind of old and stale, they were looking for other ways to save the company because what became their greatest blessing was also their biggest curse because the average retention was 45 days. Why? Because some people made it the full 90 days. But when they finished the 90-day challenge, what are you going to do? Another 90-day challenge? Nobody was doing a second 90-day challenge. They weren't even set up. It wasn't even like part of their plan and marketing. Like, okay, what do we do once we get them through the 90-day challenge? It was just all about getting people on the 90-day challenge. So since most people didn't even finish the 90 days and most of the people fall off the wagon in the first 30 days, that's how they wound up with this alarming 45-day average retention, and why this was a huge topic of conversation amongst all the MLM owners and executives and CEOs. Because if you look at the column G and you churn 80% in the first or in the second month, you're already down to 4 customers in month 3. Okay. So that's if you're churning 80% per month. Okay. Their average person only lasted 45 days. So they were churning 80 to 90% in the first 2 to 3 months. Okay. And so that's where you get to month 3 or 4 and you're down to 1 or 2 people. That's crazy, right? You cannot sustain that. And that's why that company went out of business because yes, they had a lot of success with their marketing, program and did hundreds of millions of dollars. But once the churn passed, the new members coming in, and once people had heard about it and they had already done a 90-day challenge and they'd already been asked to do a 90-day challenge by all their friends, then eventually that wore off and they didn't have anything else to do. And so this is really important to understand because when you look at what the difference is on the churn, okay, then you can see how much longer your members stay in and you can see what your annual retention is. So the 12-month retention for ViSalus exact at that point, okay, was probably less than 1 person. It may not have even been 1 person. So basically nobody's left at the end of 12 months. That's column G. If you have 50% churn, okay, you run out of people basically in month 8, 9, 10. Okay. And that's 50% month over month. Okay. So in these examples, it's the same amount of churn from month 1 to month 2, because what you'll see is a lot of companies, when they know what their churn is, it's not like it changes in month 3 or 4. Usually what your churn is what your churn is. So if your churn is only 15%, you can look at column D and you start with 100 in month 1. And then in month 2, you have 85. Okay. And then month 3, you have 72. Month 4, you have, or month 5, you have 61. And then 6, you have 44. And then in month 12, you have 17. I want to talk about this for just a second, because when World Ventures had our best year, okay, and this was back in 2016, we had our best retention year ever, okay, was that year. And we were right around 17%, which in the industry back then, the numbers that were published were that product-based subscription model. So products, tangible products. So whether it was cosmetics, healthcare, makeup, lotion, whatever, the average annual retention in the industry when these numbers used to be published was low single or high single digits. So 7, 8, 9, 10%. So if you look at that, that meant that most product-based subscription companies that were based on an auto ship with tangible goods, and I'm going to explain to you why their numbers are what they are in just a minute. But if you look at column E, okay, column E is 20% churn month over month. And you get to, in month 12, 9 customers left, okay? And that's where basically the entire industry was and has been, as long as these numbers have been known, okay? Now, I did find, this was something that I found. This is for Business for Home. And this talks about kind of a general rule of thumb with retention in the industry. I think these numbers are a little inflated, okay? Because the numbers have never been this high. And it's looking at the retention of distributors, okay? So you have to step back for a second and read into this stat a little bit, because generally most customers in product-based network marketing companies are also distributors, right? And so they're showing and talking specifically about distributors, and they use Herbalife because Herbalife is publicly traded. So their numbers are public. They can't hide them. They can't disguise them. These are, because it's a publicly traded company, you can buy stock in it. And so their numbers are public record. So it says here, this is for Business from Home, recent. It says, we define retention as the number of distributor and customer renewals. So they've combined it, because in most product-based companies, people are both, okay? If you have a downline of 1,000 people, a retention rate of 15% would indicate that 150 people are active distributors, include preferred customers and distributors purchasing products directly from the company. So this is people purchasing the products, and on an annual basis, they're saying an average retention would be around 15 to 20%. I think that number is extremely high, because all of the old numbers, when they used to report real numbers, were high single digits, okay? And if this is a industry-facing publication, they're going to make things look better for the industry. So I'm just telling you, because when you look at Herbalife, which is a multi-billion-dollar-a-year company, they're reporting 2 million distributors, 324,000 of the new distributors, customers are active, an annual retention of 16%. Okay, 16%, that's for one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in the world, okay? It goes back and forth. They're always in the top 2 or 3, all right? So I want to talk about that for a second, because if you look at that 16% number, and we go back to our spreadsheet, all right, you're going to see that that's going to be 15% churn, okay? And when World Ventures did 900 plus million in revenue that year, our retention was around 17%. So that meant that our monthly churn was around that 15% number. So month over month, you would lose 15%. So every year you take the customers that start in month 1, and then you churn 15% of them month over month, okay? And that gets you to a 17% annual retention. So 15% churn gets you 17% annual retention if you churn at 15% month over month for 12 consecutive months. The reason I point this out to you is because we were the fastest growing ranked percentage-wise company back then in the entire direct sales world. World Ventures was, for 3 out of 4 years, okay? And we did almost $1 billion in revenue, and we were subscription based, and we were crushing everybody else, okay? And we were at 17%. I think the numbers probably are still where they used to be reported. Most product-based companies, if you're on an auto ship product, you're going to be probably somewhere 7, 8, 9, maybe if you're lucky, 10% annual retention, which puts you back to 20% churn. So not a big difference, okay, in the percentage of churn. It's only 5% difference, but I want to point something out to you. The difference between 15% churn and 20% churn is literally double the annual retention. By just having 5% less churn, okay, you go from 9% to 17%. This is massive, and this is why I want to talk to y'all about this today, because we have to get good at retaining our customers, and we have to be conscious about what we can do as influencers, as reps, to retain our customers. We're going to go through the things that work and the things that don't work and the problems that are out there. But I want you to look at just how 5% can literally double your annual retention. Okay, so 5% less churn from 20 to 15 essentially doubled your annual retention. Then look at what happens when you go from 15% churn, okay, which is where World Ventures was in its best year, which was probably double the average of the industry, okay? So we were basically had twice as good of retention as the rest of the entire industry back then. But if you go to 10%, okay, so just 5% less than 15, you're at 32% annual retention. 32%. If the industry is hovering around 10, let's give them 10, okay? In this business for home, they say 15 to 20. I think that number is high. Herbalife obviously is a leader in the marketplace, multi-billion-dollar company. They're at 16, okay? But even if you take Herbalife's number, 32 is double the biggest MLM in the world, right? So by just having 5% less churn, now you're at 32% annual retention. And then when you go to 5%, okay, 5% churn month over month, now you're at 60% annual retention. That's almost 4 times better than the biggest MLM in the world at 16%, 400% better, okay? There's nobody, to my knowledge, okay, and definitely nobody that's in business. Somebody could have done it for a very short period of time. I don't think anybody has ever even gotten above 30%, okay? So 10% monthly churn gives you 32%. I don't think there's been a company that's lasted or done it for more than, a year or two that I even would know of that's ever been anywhere near 32%. But I want to show you what the possibilities are and what the potential is and what we're talking about today. Because if you go to this is our actual retention numbers of our customers. So this will show you our churn. Most people don't even show this. Most people would be scared. We're a startup, okay? We're a brand new company. Nobody publishes this stuff. Nobody puts it out. This is why the DSA doesn't have it anymore. Nobody wants to talk about it. I'm going to tell you why, but I want to show you what our potential is, okay? Our month 1 to month 2, and this was our very first month, okay, was right at 10% churn, okay? 10% and 11%. So do you see what happens with the chart? When somebody gets at a churn number, they tend to stay there, okay? So our month 2, our second group of signups, okay, dropped a little bit. That first group was a lot of people that came in during the pre-launch. So those people were more excited, probably more engaged. They knew what was coming. And then you had more of a raw customer group come in month 2. So month 1, the top column was our members that joined just in the upgrade month, okay? And we retained month 1 to month 2, 89% of those. Then the first full month of new member signups, month 1 to month 2, we retained 86%. And remember, we also do this on a 28-day billing period, Okay, so those percentages actually month over month are slightly higher because we bill on a 28-day calendar. And so I want you to look at month one customers from our very first pre-launch upgrades. Okay, we retained 79% of them through those first 90 days. That puts us, okay, at the churn right here in column C, okay, right out of the gates. Okay, now, of course, I told you we're on a 28-day billing period. So when we say month one to month two, it's actually 28 days and then 28 days. So those numbers month-wise in a traditional MLM sense and an accounting sense actually are higher than that. So it's probably like 90 or 91% and 86 or 87%. But I want to show you what the possibility is here, because this is us out of the gate. I mean, all we had was hotels, and that was it. Nothing else had even been announced. We're still building everything else, and we still retain this many customers. Okay, that puts us at 32% annual retention, which I've never even heard of before. Nobody's ever even done it before. But if we can keep these numbers where we're at, we're basically going to be somewhere between 15 and 10% if you look at what our churn was just in the first 90 days. Okay, we've only had 3 billing periods, all right, for members. And so when you look at this, this is a massive opportunity for us because we are literally on the precipice of the best retention in the history of the direct sales and network marketing industry for a product-based monthly auto ship or product subscription, okay? This is not like utility billing. This is not like phone billing, okay? Those types of programs have totally different metrics, okay? These are, I'm talking about product-based MLMs, which is 85 to 90% of the entire industry, okay? And so we're on pace to be at 32% annual retention, which means that that's 300 to 500% better than the rest of the industry and 200% better than Herbalife, which is the biggest company in the world. Amway and Herbalife, they're the two biggest, okay? So when you look at where we're at right now and you look at what our churn is, we haven't even gotten started with all of our retention focus. We don't even have all of our products live yet. We just announced golf. We've got this major announcement coming tomorrow night. The things that we're doing are going to retain our customers and they're going to lock them in. This is why, okay, this is why I have a problem with the network marketing industry talking about mailbox money. Okay. And I didn't realize this until I'd been in the industry for a decade, you know, and coming into that meeting and hearing these numbers from other CEOs and other companies. And it was a roundtable forum. People were talking about their retention numbers. That's what this entire meeting was about. And I knew and I heard and I'd been trained, but this was the first time where I heard it from the owners of these companies, and they were talking about 7% annual retention, 8% annual retention. They were talking about 20% churn. Some of them were talking about 50% churn, right? That meant that they didn't have any customers left in 12 months. If you're at 50% churn, you don't have anyone left at the end of 12 months. This is why mailbox money, to me, in the typical sense, the way most MLMs talk about it, and they talk about residual income, is a myth. Because if you stop working, right, you're always going to have attrition, always. So whatever your churn is going to tell you if your opportunity has real residual potential or not. Because if your churn is greater than your new members coming in, you're going to have 0 customers left at some point because you're not putting them in fast enough to replace the ones you're losing. And this is why when somebody builds a residual income in network marketing in a traditional company, like everything else we're talking about, they can't take their foot off the gas, because then they're eventually going to wind up with no residual. Their team's going to eventually disappear. There's some people that'll monitor and maintain a group, and they'll do meetings and they'll do trainings, but they're probably not recruiting. And so they can maintain their group and be a leader and keep their residual, you know, to a certain level. But that's still based on the fact that you've got to have more people coming in than you're losing. If the churn is too high, you can't ever get off the hamster wheel. Okay? You can never get off the hamster wheel. And so for me, I had a problem with this because all these other MLMs, when I was building World Ventures, all these other MLMs were talking about mailbox money, residual income. But I knew from the owners of the companies, from the CEOs at the conference, at the summit, I'd heard about it, but I heard it from their mouths. And I heard about the problem with the 90-day challenge for ViSalus, and they were on the ropes. They were in trouble. And then literally less than 2 years later, they were out of business. Done. Finished. From 700 million, 800 million, I don't know what their biggest year was, but it was close to $1 billion in revenue and out of business. Why? Because of churn. So we have to get good at taking care of our members, taking care of our customers. We can't just sign them up and let them go and just, good luck, go figure it out. Hope you can use the app, and I hope you book something, and good luck to you. Okay. So today I want to talk about the things we can do, because we're already sitting at 10% churn and we've just gotten started. Wait until we have people going on bucket list trips. Think about what that's going to do to the psychology of our members and our future members once they see people on these bucket list trips for free with a receipt with 000 on it. And so if we're at 10% churn right now, that puts us at 32% annual retention. Jake and I think we've got things planned you guys haven't even seen yet, don't even know about, but Jake and his team and our developers have built retail monthly auto ship subscription programs that have the best retention in the industry. They're non-direct sales, they're non-MLM. But some of the platforms that Jake and our team has developed, they have retentions in the 60 and 70% range. So let's go back to that, okay? Let's go back to that. He's got programs. We've got things built. We're already building them. We're already integrating them. We're going to be putting these things into the app. Look at 60%. Look at column B. We really think within 12 to 18 months, we think we can be at 5% churn. That's really only, that's 50% better than where we are out of the gates before anybody's even been on a bucket list trip. We're at 10% now, 10, 11, 12, right? So how hard would it be once all of these things are live, once all the product value is there, once everybody's heard about us, once we have influencers and celebrities and famous YouTubers talking about BrightLife, think about what it's going to be like then. When we're at 5% churn, that puts us at 60% annual retention. That means that this is real residual. 32% is already 300 or 400% better than the entire industry. So when we're sitting already at 32%, that's a real residual income opportunity. It's only going to get better from here. Our churn is only going to go lower as we continue to work on these things and as we continue to grow. So let's talk about the things that we can do, that we have control over to make the biggest impact on lowering our churn, okay? So I want to tell you the three things these are the three absolutes, okay? These are the three absolutes. We talked about these in World Ventures. These are the three things. If you can make sure that these three things stay with you and they're taught to your team and to your customers, then we will have a lower churn than where we are right now. And I truly, honestly believe we will be the first company in the history of a product or subscription, monthly auto ship, direct sales, MLM company to ever breach 50%. And I think there's a chance we could get to 70 or even 80%, which would mean that the BrightLife business that you're building right now is literally going to be an ATM machine for generations of your family. When we're at 50 or 60 or 70% annual retention, this will be the biggest ATM machine that anyone in any of your generations or family has ever built. This will be generational wealth. Those numbers will do things that have never been seen before in this industry. We will be the leader. We will be the first, okay? So these are the three absolutes. Pay attention. Right? This is rule number one. Pay attention. That means that you've got to stay plugged in. Okay. You've got to stay plugged in. You've got to continue to learn. You've got to continue to grow. You've got to make sure that that's part of your team, part of the culture. You've got to pay attention. You've got to stay plugged in. Then the second thing is get excited. We talked about this in Tulum. I talked about it for half an hour about how the last 4 letters of enthusiasm are IASM. I am sold myself. You're never going to recruit somebody on a scale of 1 to 10 with enthusiasm that's an 8 or a 9 if you're a 7. My mentor taught me that. Wes, you are never going to recruit somebody more excited and enthusiastic than you. So if you're a 6, you're going to be working with a lot of 5s and 4s, and you're not going to like it. If you're a 7 or an 8, you're going to be working with some 5s and 6s, and maybe a 7 or here or there. But if you're a 9 or a 10, you're going to be working with 7s, 8s, 9s, maybe even a 10 every once in a while. But I promise you, if you are not excited and enthusiastic and confident in what you're doing, you will never be able to recruit somebody that's more excited than you are. It just won't happen. You won't do it. So pay attention, get excited. And then the third thing is the most important. You control your own destiny, right? The third thing is never quit. So pay attention, get excited, never quit. Never quit, because you are the only person that controls your destiny in this business, being successful or not. We can't fire you unless you did something illegal. So you could be the slowest rep in the history of BrightLife, the slowest influencer to get to influencer 15,000. So what? What if it took you 10 years to get to influencer 15,000? You know, to be at, 180,000 a year in income puts you in the top less than 1% of earners in all of North America and in the US, and a top 1/10 of 1% of earners in the world. Even if it took you 10 years. So the only way you can fail at this business, the only way you can fail at BrightLife is to quit. We cannot fire you. So the moment you go and you log into the back office and you click cancel, that's on you. And here's the thing. Why is there so much attrition, churn in the direct sales industry? We're going to talk about it. Why? Why does it happen? How does it happen? Here's why. Low barrier to entry, low barrier to exit. Okay? Low barrier to entry, low barrier to exit. We're talking about, somebody that signs up as an influencer is $20. I mean, somebody that signs up as a member, $200, right? I mean, I just went school clothes shopping with my daughter. Those of you that have kids know. I mean, I can't even go into Sephora or into a store and not spend $200, right? I mean, a pair of tennis shoes is almost $200. 2 pairs of tennis shoes was $300, And so $200 is nothing, okay? $20, for sure nothing. So why is there such a high attrition rate? Why is the churn so high in direct sales? Because low barrier to entry, a couple $100, low barrier to exit. It doesn't cost anything to exit. It's free to hit that cancel button in the back office, deactivate, cancel my membership. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't hurt your finger. It's not painful. Low barrier to exit. Low barrier to exit. Okay. This is the thing that people talk about in terms of retention for companies. I went through and looked at some of the best companies in terms of retention on auto ships, on tech. They actually teach to make it hard to cancel. That's actually taught. If you look it up online, how do you get higher retention, lower attrition, lower churn? Make it harder to cancel, right? If it's harder for somebody to cancel, it's more of a pain, it's a headache, it's a hassle, whatever. You got to jump through all these hoops. It makes it harder. But at the end of the day, that's not the way we want to do business. We don't want somebody to be a member if they don't want to be a member. But it's up to us to keep people engaged, to keep them, informed, right? Pay attention. You got to make sure that everybody has the information. These are the top things, by the way, according to all the research, all the experts on any type of subscription-based anything. Okay. These are the top factors, according to the CEOs of all the subscription-based companies out there. These are the reasons why customers are retained. Number one, education. So do they understand how to use what they have? This is number one. Okay. Do they know how it works? Do they know how to use it? Right? So are you educating your new members? Are you teaching them how to use the app, where the app is, how to download it, how on the Google store, for whatever reason, you can only find it if you type BrightLife together as one word and not as two. On Apple, it shows up, but on the Google store, from what I've seen, you have to type it together with no spaces. But this is education, right? It's these little things. We talked about training and duplication. You've got the BrightLife blueprint. Are you giving them the BrightLife blueprint? Are you going through it with them? Are you walking them through it? Are you making sure they know where to log in, how to get their link, where to download the app, how to search for travel, how to book travel, how to put their payment information in the app? These are all education components. We're working on a new string of confirmation emails and a tutorial on the app so that we can get better as a company. Because if you look at where we are right now, we've just been trying to get everything out as fast as we can. We haven't had time to develop any training or tutorials or how-tos because half the stuff has just come out. So we're going to be building some education features, and we've written a whole new sequence of confirmation emails. And also if somebody's card is declined or expired, we've got a whole new set of emails that are going out to them. And very soon, you will get push notifications with all these things, because we know the open rate on emails is so low. Most of our emails wind up in the spam folder. So all of these sequences that we've been working on will all show up as notifications in the app. So we're doing our part, but we need you to do your part when it comes to education. Okay. Second thing that they say, important for retention, is systems. Okay, so what are your systems or processes for your customers? So is it easy to book? Is it easy to use? Does it make sense? Do you have a lot of customer service inquiries? This is one of the things I'm super excited about and super proud of for our entire team and our interface. We spent months drawing out and storyboarding the entire interface of the entire booking app. We looked at all of the travel apps. We looked at other apps that were very successful that weren't even travel related. We looked at menus. We looked at features. We looked at button positioning. We looked at all these things. Our map feature, I love. We built that. We designed that. We created that. We're like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you could swipe on a map just like you do on your dating apps? You know, just make it easy and simple, something that people know, and a movement or a gesture that they can do easily. So systems, is it simple? Is it easy? We have had, okay, less than, I think we're sitting somewhere around about 30 customer support inquiries in 90 days. 30, okay? 30 support inquiries. And we have now, by the way, and I don't know if you've seen it, it was supposed to go live yesterday. We have a new support system that will give you a trouble ticket. So if you have any issues or questions or something about the app or taxes on a booking, whatever the customer support issue is, there's a new support system inside of the app in the back office that will allow us to monitor it and also get it to where it needs to go in terms of our back-end teams, if it's tech related or customer support related. And so that is live now. And so we're doing all these things to make it easier for you. But here's what's crazy. Over 1,000 members and influencers, okay? Couple thousand downloads of the app. I think we're probably almost at 3,000 downloads of the app now. A lot of people are downloading and checking out. We have people that are downloading it. We don't even, they're in countries we're not even in. They're just finding us and downloading it, okay? And we have some new features for guests, non-members, where they're going to be able to book retail and see an upgrade path to becoming a member. All of that we've been building as well. But less than 30 customer service inquiries in 90 days. That's like only one inquiry every 3 days, okay? So pretty incredible. And I think it goes back to our app is great. It's easy to use. It's user-friendly. And then the next thing, and this is one that several of the CEOs and several of the reports that I looked at, they all talked about, is what is the value proposition? What's the value proposition? If you want to have good retention, what is your value proposition? Are people getting their money's worth, right? Well, we know what the answer to that question is. I mean, those of you that went to Tulum, you just saved more than what you would pay for an entire year on that one trip. Okay, with the value of the extra stuff that you got from Corey and the training and the nutrition class and the welcome party, and then getting the rooms for 50 to 70% off. I mean, you saved your entire year's dues on one trip. Value. Golf will be going live this month. We're working on the integration right now. And so golf, you play one round of golf, one round at one of these clubs that would cost you $20,000 or more to join, and then a monthly dues of probably somewhere between $500 and maybe as high as $1,500 a month. So that's $15,000 to $20,000 a year. And did you know that the average person at the country club, they play less than one round a quarter? One round a quarter. They play 3 or 4 times a year, 5 times a year, right? That's crazy. That means that you can play the same amount for what somebody spent $50,000, $100,000 to do, and you can play up to 3 times at each one of the almost 250 courses. So value is always going to be an inherent yes. It's very important. We've got the bucket list trips that are going to be coming soon. People are going to start taking those. And once they do, I'm telling you, our churn is going to continue to drop. That attrition rate is going to drop, and then our retention is going to be up there. And I think we'll be 60, 70%. And they're going to be writing books about us, doing case studies, and trying to figure out how it was that we conquered something, we accomplished something that nobody ever in the history of the direct sales industry has done. All right, now let's talk about the things that cause retention problems. Okay, I want to talk about the things that cause retention problems, and I want to talk to you about the industry, because I told you the biggest problem is low barrier to entry, low barrier to exit. Okay, but I want to go through and talk to you about the other things that contribute to a high attrition number, a high churn. Okay, the first thing is, anytime companies do challenges or some kind of sprint type activity where they're doing something in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. The problem with that is it seems like a great marketing approach when you do a 30-day challenge, a 60-day challenge, a 90-day challenge. But I already told you, people are inherently quitters. It's just the way human nature is. So because of that, that means that if you're doing something in 30, 60, or 90-day increments, if you're trying to get these like people to join and go on these membership spurts, then you're going to have a higher attrition, a higher churn, because once they complete it, they'll churn. Usually they'll attrit, they'll stop. And if they don't make it, they'll churn, they'll attrit, they'll stop. So if you do a 30, 60, 90-day challenge, you're going to be losing people all in between. But even if they make it through the 90 days, how many of them are going to do another 90-day challenge, another 60-day challenge, another 90-day sprint? I don't know what the numbers are, but you know, there's the thing that's like 75 hard or whatever it is. I've seen all these people that have done this 75 hard or whatever, right? How many people have done it more than once, right? Because people talk about being able to do it, being able to do this 75 hard, but how many people do 75 hard and then do it again 75 hard, right? Because people talk all about, oh my gosh, it was so hard, it was so difficult, especially the first few days. But once I got into it, and then they want like an award. It's like, look at me, I did the 75 hard. Perfect example, right? Because I have not, and I don't know, maybe somebody here has, I have never seen one of my friends who's posted about doing 75 hard. I have never, and I'm sure it's happened, but I have never seen somebody say, I just did 75 hard for the 3rd time. I've never even seen anybody say they did it for a 2nd time. Have any of you guys seen somebody who said, I did 75 hard again, and it was harder, or it wasn't as hard? I did 75 hard the 3rd time hard. No, they did 75 hard. They made it 75 hard. And then that was it. That was the end. So now what? Okay, made me a better person, made me healthier, made me more aware. You know, I lost some weight, got healthier, better cardio. You know, I stopped drinking or drinking as much, right? So perfect example of how these 30, 60, 90-day things seem great and seem easy. And it's an easy way to get people in, but it is a massive factor in having a high churn, high attrition, turning people over very quickly, because if they make it, they quit. If they don't make it, they quit. Massive, massive problem for the industry, okay? Then the second thing was eye-opening to me, and that is the retention issues with education, okay? So let me explain to you what I'm talking about. So there are several companies that do investment education, stocks, crypto, Forex. Now they've started to educate on other stuff because of this problem, right? So if you put somebody on a stock or crypto or Forex trading education product, right? So the monthly product is videos, but their courses are the course. And then you stay on to get like supplemental teaching and coaching, and you get a chance to watch traders and copy their trades or follow their trade analysis. And so that's their reason to keep you in. But here's the problem, okay? And I didn't know this until I got involved, that this was a problem, because I was already trading stocks, but I wanted to learn more about trading, but I didn't actually realize how bad the retention was and how bad the attrition was and the churn until I had insider information. I didn't know until I had inside info on how bad it really was. And here's why. If somebody takes a course and the videos, the modules, and these education programs, and there's a bunch of them, okay? They're all similar. So they have some videos, you go through the course, you go through the tutorials, and then you start following their coaches, their traders, their live traders for their trading sessions. So here's the problem. If you get in and you go through the course, and you know, I did the courses at the company that I was with I did all of the trading courses in like 2 weeks. I did all of them. So I'd already gone through all of the curriculum, all of the tutorials, all of the videos in 2 weeks. And I was paying $235 a month. So $235 a month. But I went in to learn, and I wasn't copying and following the traders, because most of the traders are not even really doing the trades that they're talking about. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors. They're not regulated. These are not licensed traders. They're not licensed they're not licensed by any regulatory agency. They're not verified. They're not validated. They literally just pop up in a Zoom room, and people, you know, treat them as a shaman, as some kind of a mentor. And so if you really do learn quickly, then why do you need to keep paying for the monthly following the traders if you're not following the traders? You've already been through the videos. The videos take you a few days to go through it. So why are you paying? If you've already gone through the videos and you're not copying the traders, because they're not real traders, none of them are, and most of them don't make any money trading, and it's not real, okay? And if it was, then why are they working on a Zoom room teaching you their trades instead of out there just trading if they're so good? Why would they need to be in a Zoom room teaching you? It's flawed, you know? And then if somebody gets in and has no success, they don't get it, they don't go through the videos, those people quit even faster. Because why are they going to pay $235 a month for something that they're not even using? They didn't even study. They didn't even log in. They didn't even go through it. You know, their friend told them to get in. They could make quick cash. You know, they could trade. They could do crypto. They could do Forex. It sounds sexy. So what I found out was that the churn, okay, for these education companies, crypto, Forex, trading, education, e-commerce, the churn, real churn, you ready for this? 80 to 90% month over month. 80 to 90%. So that means that for any of these companies to stay in business, they have to be putting in more than they're churning each month. And this is the reason why most of these companies are floundering, okay? Because the churn is so high, right? Because People get in and they have success trading. Why do they need the course? Why do they need to pay the monthly fee? They get in, they have no success. They don't do anything. Of course they're quitting. This is worse than a 30-day challenge. It's worse than a 90-day challenge. They're literally losing people from month 1 to month 2, 80 to 90%. So that means you go work your butt off, you go do your invites, you go do your exposing, and then literally in 2 months, you've got 1 or 2 of them left of the 10 that you signed up. What? This is real, people. I saw this after I was in the company and in the business. I didn't know. If I would have known, I would have never, ever signed up, because that is not sustainable. It's not sustainable as a business model, okay? So you can't be in a company where you have over 50% churn, 50% attrition, right? Because you saw the charts, right? Look. Here it is. Those are real numbers. Okay? Look at this. Look at column F and G. 50% churn, 50% attrition. That means that you're basically out of customers in about 8 months, 9 months. That's why these guys can come in, and you've got some people that are making rank, and you have a handful of leaders that are making money because they've got enough new people putting in people where they're at least able to replace their churn. They're not growing. Nobody's ranking up. Nobody's ranking up. And a lot of them got given volume. There were deals done. I mean, man, those companies are ripe with just all kinds of backroom dealings and backdoor deals and giving away this and giving away that, and they prop people up. And I mean, it's just sad. But the reason is because the churn is what it is. It's 50 to 80%. Probably a lot of those companies, it's over 80%. So that means as soon as they stop putting more new in than what they're losing, they're done. They're toast. And it's close for some of them. It's close. They cannot sustain it. They will not sustain it. And that's why those trading companies are now introducing tangible products. That's why. I came in and had a 500% better retention with my TLX program than they did on the trading academies. 500% better. On my first 18 months with TLX. On my travel program. It was a watered down version of BrightLife. Didn't even have half of what we have. No bucket list trip, just an anniversary trip. And I was still 500% better than the rest of the other products. That's why all these companies, that's why GFU is coming out with tangible products, right? GFU was a copycat of IM. So GFU copied IM, exact same models. Once IM did travel, they added travel, and now they're doing physical products. Why do you think they're adding physical products? Because the churn on their academies is 50 to 80% or worse. They cannot stay in business. So you're going to see companies that are going to continue to introduce new products and new things, a new flavor, a new product, a new delivery system. This is how they try to lower the churn, lower the attrition, try to bring in new customers, try to raise average order price. That's why they're adding physical products. What does an energy drink have to do with the trading investment education company? What does that have to do with it? It has nothing to do with it. What it has to do with is solving the attrition problem, solving the churn problem. Go look at any of these companies. It is a textbook on exactly how not to run a successful direct sales company. Change the comp plan. Change the prices. Change the ranks. All of these things are signs. Change the name. Oh, I wonder who just did that recently. After 10 years of one name, now they changed their name to something else. Now they're relaunching as a new travel company after they've already been in business 10 years. Change your name, change your comp plan, change the prices. These are all signs of distress. Distress at sea, you put or even in the US, you put the flag upside down. All of these companies adding new products that have nothing to do with what they're doing. Okay. All of these things that we're talking about, this is the upside down flag. Changing your name, relaunching your name is something totally different. Why do you think you have to do that? Why would a company that's been in business for 10 years change their name and relaunch? I'll tell you why. The first MLM that I signed up with in 2004, before we started World Ventures, changed their name 3 times in 3 years and then was out of business in the 4th year. Okay? Because these are signs of distress. And so they're trying to come up with ways to lower the attrition, lower the churn. And here's the other problem with physical products, right? Is the physical product arriving each month is a reminder to cancel. When the cabinets get too full of the juice or the gel or the whatever, and the cabinets are all full because you've got your auto ship coming in, the auto ship arriving every month is a reminder to cancel. Too much product is a reminder to cancel. Here's the other here's the other problem with retention with a lot of these companies. Credit cards. Do you know that most of those companies can't even take credit cards in some countries? They've lost their banking, they've lost their merchant accounts. They're having to pay, people are having to sign up and pay only with crypto. That's the only way people can sign up in some countries for some of these companies, because they've lost their merchant accounts, they've lost bank accounts. This is a major problem for companies with high attrition, because high churn and high attrition is high risk for a merchant account, for a bank account, for a credit card processor. And so then there's high chargeback, there's high disputes, there's high refund requests. Any of those things that raise your refund request, your chargebacks, your disputes, you lose your merchant accounts. You literally, they'll take them away from you overnight. They'll freeze your money. They'll raise your reserve requirements, and it'll put you out of business. This is the problem. So this is why when companies are a startup and they don't have the experience that we have and the team that we have and the tech that we have, these are the things that cause problems for new companies and startups: banking, merchant accounts, legal. But then you have inventory. If you're a product-based company, could you imagine being a startup and having to prepare for ebbs and flows in sales? One of the biggest blessings and biggest curses of a product-based network marketing company is just being able to keep inventory, being able to get it through customs, being able to get your ingredients. What happens if you have one ingredient that is in your 20 in your magic gel or your magic juice, and it's some kind of weird coffee bean extract or some kind of tea extract or whatever it is, and it's out, gone, missing? What do? Reformulate? What if that's your active ingredient? What if you can't find it? What if they raise the price? What if they triple the price? What if they quadruple the price? What if the country that you're importing from gets tariffs from the US and you can't import it anymore? You can't get those ingredients anymore. Or now it costs you 10 times as much. Or now there's delays. Or now when the cargo ships arrive, they're stuck at port and they can't get through customs. What if they're stuck at customs for 2 months? There was a company that I remember whenever we started World Ventures that was a really popular energy drink company, and they had an entire shipment of all their products going to South Africa. They got seized at customs. Their customers didn't get product for 6 months. Everybody quit. These are the problems with retention. These are the problems with the high churn. Here's the good news, okay? The good news is that we don't have these problems. We don't have the tangible, physical, scientist, packaging, manufacturing, supply chain management, ingredients, sourcing, outsourcing, labeling, shipping, that the shipping rates are at all-time highs. UPS quadrupled the salary of the average UPS driver, so their prices and rates, everything is higher. This is what's the problem with the product industry right now. And we're coming into a slow season in the economy. It's already here. We're in a recession. People won't admit it. They can talk about it. They can deny it. They can say whatever they want to say. I've been saying this for several months. This is the winter is coming, okay? The recession is coming. If it's not already here, it is very close. Here's the great news for all of us. World Ventures killed it in 2008, 9, and 10. Every other company on the DSA Top 100, every other company was down. Red arrow, red arrow, red arrow, red arrow, red arrow, because they were all product-based companies. So whenever the recession hit last time, all the product-based companies, because we all know that the average direct sales MLM products are much higher than what's on the street, what's on the retail, and what's on TikTok. So those are the first things that get cut. Those are the first things to get canceled. $250 in gel or juice or serums or whatever, or peptides. That's the first thing to go. People still travel during a recession. We're doing wholesale travel, discount travel, and a free trip. So they're getting all of their money and then some. So the value is there. We're going to do great. They didn't close the airports or close the hotels during the last recession. Some of the rates were down, right? Occupancies might have been a little down some places. People were still traveling. The airports were still packed. We crushed it in 2008, 9, and 10. We are sitting in such a special place right now. You guys haven't even seen all the things that we've developed and all the things that Jake and his team have been building to help lower our churn, lower our attrition, and raise our retention. We will be retaining 60, maybe 70% of our customers. And when that happens, and we're very close, I think it could be within the first 18 months, especially once people go on our first bucket list trips and we continue to add value. Wait until you hear about what we're announcing tomorrow night. This is real. This is not a hamster wheel. This is not get rich quick, but it can be get rich slow, because we are not going anywhere. You're not going to have to stay on the hamster wheel. Your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren will be able to live off of the residual that you build right now because of what we're doing as a company to retain our customers. And so I want you to all remember that and keep that in mind. I want you to share this video with your team, because you cannot take it personal if people quit or cancel. We can do our best to retain them, but unfortunately, like we've talked about many times on this call, people are quitters. And what we're already doing with a 10% churn, 10%, 12% attrition is crazy, being 2 months old. I mean, crazy. That doesn't happen, right? Because you have a lot of, tire kickers, and somebody will join and they'll cancel the next day. You have all these people that are naturally quitters. They have buyer's remorse. They have all these psychological things going on. That's a training for another day. Okay? But you should feel good about where we are, where we're going, what we're building. This is real residual. We're going to retain our customers. We're going to have the lowest attrition, the lowest churn in the history of the industry. We're already on pace to do it right now at where we're at. We're going to be at 30% without even having everything live and without even having everything available, just getting started. You saw the charts, you saw the numbers. And so congrats to all of you. We've got tons of recognition coming tomorrow night. Major announcements. Get all of your team on there. BrightLifeNews.com, 7:00 p.m. tomorrow night, Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. Can't wait to see everybody. Invite today, tomorrow. We'd love to recognize more of you tomorrow on the call as well. So get promoted today. Share the videos. The new What is BrightLife video, the 7-minute version, has been updated with golf. It's live, whatisbrightlife.com. We also have a new 17-minute video that has the golf fully. That's going to be the one on the sign-up page. And that is the last video on the YouTube channel, along with the new 7-minute that replaced the old 6-minute video. So all of that is there for you. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for being on here today. This recording will be posted as soon as it's rendered. So please share this with your teams, and let's go crush the weekend. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. God bless.